This is the Ecwid e-commerce show with your host, Jesse Ness, along with Richard Otey.
Happy Friday, Richie. How are you?
It's that day again, you know. I mean, even though people could be listening to this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, it all feels like the same day these days right now.
You're telling me, yeah, I guess it's Friday. But yeah, it's every day is the same day. Even the weekend is kind of the same day, really. But hey, here we are. It's Friday, podcast day. We kind of had a little bit of a lull here too. So for people that are catching up, we're going to start doubling up on these. So you're going to get flooded with podcasts, and hopefully you can keep up with us. I think you can, But Richie, what are we talking about today? What are we gonna?
I'm super excited about today. We've had, we've had a lot of really good guests, but this is one I've been looking forward to for a while. We've known this guest for a long time. There's a lot of people out there right now using Ecwid that are just getting started, and they're learning Facebook. They're learning ads. They're learning how to drive business. Some of them are doing a side hustle. Some of them are jumping full in. And this is also going to apply for merchants that have been on Ecwid for a while. So this could cover the gamut. And this person is straight up, in my opinion, like genius level, or at least really, really up there when it comes to Facebook. Like, we're going to have to make sure he stays down to our understanding level here. But for those people who've either thought ads were too hard or took too long to do, our guests today, well, actually it's going to be our guests today, are going to basically help us understand how to make videos in a minute or less and how to promote those videos for basically about $1 a day. So today on the show, we're going to have Dennis Yu, CEO of BlitzMetrics. And, not only is he doing amazing things for businesses, but I just really love his model in general. He's a digital marketing agency that's partnered up with a bunch of schools, and they're teaching a lot of the people that are graduating new skill sets and how to help businesses. And they're doing it with some big ones. I mean, they're running campaigns for Golden State Warriors, Nike, Rosetta Stone. And I mean, the list of accolades that I could talk about with Dennis, like, just real quick, I'm going to bring up just a couple, because why not? I mean, let's see here. I got to stop quick because I could go forever. He spoke over 730 times in 17 countries, 5 continents. He's basically been at conferences, Conversion Conference, Social Media Marketing World. He's been featured in Wall Street Journal, New York Times, LA Times, NPR, TechCrunch, Fox News. I mean, it just goes on and on. So instead of hearing me talk about him, let's bring him on and actually get to learn from Dennis. Really appreciate having you on the show.
Thank you, Richie and Jess. And we want to learn from Kieran O'Brien, who's teaching me stuff all day long about how to scale. I feel like we were just doing a show earlier, and I said, do you remember those days when you had the 8-track tapes or the cassette tapes and you had to wind them? Or when you had to teach your parents how to use a VCR because they couldn't figure out how to turn it on? I'm starting to feel like that too, because of the acceleration that happens in digital. And if you're new to e-commerce and you just sign up for Ecwid, I wonder if you feel like that too, where there's so much, like, where do you start? How do you get the fundamentals in place? Not everyone has a Kieran who is just a super genius who can everything seemed obvious when he touches it. But I thought maybe, because Rich and Jess, we met in San Diego, who knows, before the Corona thing, about how we could make things simpler from a beginner standpoint. And I'm here for you guys. There's so much that we can share to help you guys grow.
Oh, super excited. And thanks for joining him, Kieran. This is really cool. We're getting a bonus here. We were just expecting Dennis. Really good to have you. So, hey, if it's someone just getting started, let's say, again, we're hoping to get to do maybe version 2 or something else with you in the future. So if you're listening to this podcast and at the end you really enjoyed it, please give a shout out, and we'll go deeper with Dennis and possibly Kieran too at another time. But right now, let's go from the standpoint, someone is just signed on to Ecwid and they're just getting going. Why should they be doing videos on Facebook, and is it really true that you can promote them for as little as $1 a day? And how can we get people started doing that?
Absolutely. So clearly you're setting up your shopping cart and everything related to that with Ecwid because you want to sell stuff online. And as you make money, all kinds of good things happen, right? Where you can reinvest, you can hire people, you can fulfill your life dreams. But what people don't realize is that the shopping cart by itself is the last stage of the process. For someone to enter their credit card and to give you money requires that they have to first know you, like you, and trust you. And people will think that Facebook ads or YouTube or these other channels are for people who are spending a lot of money. And for example, you guys know Purple, the mattresses? So we spent $100 million on Facebook ads promoting their mattresses. And there's some high powered content. You guys remember the Goldilocks videos that we made?
Yeah.
Those cost several $1 million. And then we spent, of course, a lot of money promoting that and other videos. And they might think that that's out of reach. They might think they need a professional videographer. They might need a whole team. They might think, well, it's just me. I'm a mom and pop. I'm just getting going. None of those tools are available to me because I have to hire an agency and I need video cameras and all this. And nothing could be further from the truth. Because what you need this. If you have this and you have 1 minute and you have $1 a day, you can get going. And it's not because you want to be Gary Vaynerchuk and have your face everywhere. I'm an introvert. Every once in a while, I can be like Karen and you guys and, then I crawl back into my introvert cave. But when you're able to share your story and share who you are, like with Purple, we're sharing funny moments, but we're also sharing why that particular mattress won't compress when you drop an egg on it. So we made a video called the egg drop test. Or let's say that I want to sell Trident gum and all the other gums are about the same, but I can talk about how it's part of my daily routine or how I'm the founder and what I'm doing in my daily life, even if it has nothing to do with gum, because people are trying to, if they build a bond with you and you do it through Facebook in the way that we're going to tell you about with $1 a day and 1 minute videos and this thing called the topic wheel, which is why, how, and what. If you do this, you're going to find that people first identify with you. So it could be you're making cookies in the kitchen and maybe you're selling kitchen appliances or you're selling something completely different. It doesn't matter, is that they're learning who you are. They're learning about your customers. That's a first touch. Then there's something called remarketing on Facebook where anyone who's seen one piece of content from you, you then can show them. Facebook will then sequence the next piece of content. They'll do that targeting for you automatically, show them the next piece of content, which is how content, which is you're sharing how you're doing something. And then from the how, you're moving people to the what, which is now they're ready to buy. And if you start backwards, if you think about the product that you're selling, what kinds of knowledge would you be expected to have around that product? So if you want to, like you guys want to name a product and let's figure out what those topics are. And then from the topics, we'll map it to the people.
Well, let's do, I know he'll be listening to this one. So we had Prairie Melody Birdseed. So he sells organic bird seeds and bird feeders, right? So
yeah. Want to take it or me? Why, how, what?
No, go for it.
Okay. So organic bird. So he's selling the bird feeders and the bird seed?
Yeah, primarily bird seed though.
Yeah, let me, before you get started, Dennis, I just want to say one quick thing because it's a beautiful point that you put out there, and then we'll go right into prairie bird seed. Is you could get really fancy, but I just want to clarify for the people, when he said this, all he did was pull out his cell phone. So literally, when you get started and you start explaining this, I just want to be a reminder for those that are only listening to this podcast and not seeing the video as well. Dennis was saying, yeah, you could get all the fancy gear. You can get big agencies and all this stuff, but he's going to bring it back to people who are just getting started and basically saying with your cell phone and then having this why, how, and what structure, and they're going to get in the topic wheel and different things here, but it's literally starting out with your cell phone. So sorry for interrupting there, Dennis, but.
No, that's great. Great context. And if you're listening, I have a face made for radio. Okay. So if you're listening, I'm holding up my phone. And a lot of people are thinking about, they're overthinking it basically, okay? So look, I've got an iPhone. Oops, the light's turned on. See, even I don't know how to use this thing. And I'm going to the camera right here. And let's say that, what's the owner's name? The founder who owns of Prairie Bird Seed?
Oh, damn it. We
That's
pulled
okay.
it out.
I'll
Right
pretend.
field.
I'll
Maybe
pretend.
Kent.
Okay, that's good enough.
Yeah, I think it's Ken.
So I'll be Dennis. Okay, I'll pretend, and I'm doing selfie mode, and I'm pointing the camera at me, and I'll say, this morning when I woke up, I saw a cardinal out on my front or in my backyard, and it's the first time I've seen this cardinal in 3 weeks. I thought he was never going to come back because he was beautiful, and I took a couple pictures before he flew off, and thank goodness, this is one of my favorite moments. It made my day. And there, I just made a 15-second video. Did I mention that I'm using prairie bird seed?
Nope.
Did I sell anything? Then I make another video, and it's about, man, those dang squirrels. Like, I put the thing high up on the tree, but somehow the squirrel was still able to get there and take all the seed out, right? Or then I interview some other people, and I'll say, hey, what kinds of birds have you seen recently? You know what? I've seen a lot of goldfinches. I've been putting out these little black seeds, and the goldfinches have been coming, and I've even seen some house finches and the goldfinches. What's your favorite bird? What are you seeing in your area? And so I'm just generating conversation. I'm not selling because I'm talking about my passion. And maybe so that's one topic, right? Birds in my backyard. Another topic could be gardening. So in my garden, this past weekend, this is true story. I'm not making it up. I went to Home Depot. And I thought, my garden's kind of barren, so I'm going to get some potted plants, some beautiful flowers and some azaleas. And I got a lemon tree, and I got 2 different heirloom tomato brands. And in fact, while I was there were so many, I went back to Home Depot the next day, and I got 7 more tomato plants. And now if you go in my backyard, I've got 8 tomato plants that are all in a row, and I've gone crazy. And people like, Dennis, you've gone crazy, dude. What are you doing? Like, I thought you were just going to get a couple. Yeah, I know, but sometimes you go to Home Depot and you end up you go to Costco and you want to buy this one thing, and then pretty soon, you ever do that, right? And you end up with like 20 things. And so now my garden has got all these different things. And then of course, if I'm doing that, then I went to Amazon, and I guess I can't say that. I bought a weed whacker, and I got a new lawnmower while I was at it. And then I hired a maid. So I'm just talking about gardening in my backyard and other stuff. Then I'm talking about maybe, what I'm cooking, or I'm talking about, things that I'm working on. And so I'm getting people a sense in this outside. Imagine there's this onion at multiple layers. So on the outside, I'm making lots of little 15-second and 1-minute videos talking about the things that I care about that don't have to deal with prairie bird seed, but just about who I am. And maybe that, hey, I'm an entrepreneur in small businesses. It's really hard. And I have a pizza joint that I used to go to all the time, but I think they're going to go out of business because they have great pizza, but they don't know how to market, and things are really hard right now. And you're just telling stories about who you are. You're interviewing customers, asking them about what they're doing and what are you seeing in your yard. So that's the outside. That's the who. That's building relationships. When you meet somebody, I know it's kind of like hard nowadays to meet somebody, but when you used to meet somebody, what would happen, Rich, when you meet somebody? What do you say?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm loving this because you're just, to your point, you're trying to get to know somebody. Like, hey, what are you into? What do you like doing?
You already know how to do this. I'm not teaching you anything you don't know how to do.
Yeah.
You just need to realize you're building relationships online. Yeah. But when you meet somebody, what's the first thing you say to them? You meet them at a conference, you meet them at the coffee shop. What do you say?
Oh, well, first I say hi, right?
Yeah,
like
you say hi. Yeah. You don't immediately say, buy this stuff, it's on sale, and there's a 20% off coupon.
No, and I love it. And I want to reiterate, like, even as you're saying this, and Jesse and I do this, I get what you mean by this. Going back to the know, like, and trust. It's, you're getting to know somebody, and it just seems, for someone who's stuck in their business sometime or thinking so much about trying to sell something, it seems like, wait, doesn't that seem like a waste of time? But to your point, you wouldn't just go up, hi, I'm Dennis. You want to buy my course? Hi, I'm Dennis. You want to buy this car? Hi, you that's not even saying hi, right? You're just like,
yeah. You never want to be that guy.
Yeah,
right.
and you see so many e-commerce retailers using that strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they come right out with a conversion ad, and they come right out with a discount code for a product that the people seeing the ad, they don't even know what it is yet.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know the people, they don't know the brand, they don't even know the product. And they're coming at you with this advertisement thinking that you're just going to buy it right there, right then and there.
Yeah.
So
I think what I like about what you're saying here is that you don't have to this doesn't have to be the perfect video. It's almost like you're saying, make 10 videos that are probably not that good, but you're just getting them out there. You're just going to tell a little story. And I don't mean not good. I mean, like, don't overthink it. Just get 15 seconds, 30 seconds. This is who I am. This is my business. Put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, and, then we're moving on to the next stage later.
Yep.
Yeah. And one quick caveat here too, that as we're going through this, that really strikes me as why this probably works well too, is this isn't search. People are in their feed, seeing what's going on with friends and family. And so, it's not like they have this buyer intent right then. So it really plays into this even more because they're seeing you potentially for the first time, and so you're just letting them know a little bit more about you. I like that guy. And then, as you know, and we'll get into here, when you start to see that next one remarket, now you know a little bit more about it. Now maybe I'm assuming, how do you take those videos now? So they're going out and basically in version 1 of the videos, they can talk about whatever they like, whatever they're up to, whatever they're doing. Is that correct first? So what do you have to think about for this next layer of videos, or am I already overthinking it?
Well, even you, Rich, are potentially making it more complicated than it needs to be. Think about dating, right? So when you meet your wife, the first thing you don't just say, when you meet a girl the first time, hey, would you marry me, and get on your knee, no matter how good your pickup line is, right? You have to get to know them. You have to go date with them. Then, you first kiss, and all the way on down the line until you propose. And that's what's going to happen with your customer. Now, it doesn't mean you're posting random Gary Vaynerchuk kind of stuff out there. If you know who your customer is and you practice Inception, the movie Inception, the dream inside the dream inside the dream, you're still targeting just the people who would be interested in buying your birdseed. So you're targeting the fans of other birdseed brands. You're targeting people who have gardens, people who like the National Audubon Society, people who are planting gardens, or all the things that are related. That's called literal, lateral, and what's the third one? Explicit targeting, right? So we still have all of our targeting, but what we're talking about is making video that's going to move in 3 sequences, 3 steps. So the first one is all lightweight moments, just giving people a taste of what you care about. And you're not going in depth. It's just a lightweight touch because that's what people want to see. Then, Rich, to your point, the next piece is you're sharing a piece of knowledge and you're going a little bit deeper. So let's say that I'm a beauty spokesperson. I'm not. And I'm promoting this gel, this cocoon gel. I could talk about how I'm using it. I could talk about my beauty tips. I could talk about, how I do my hair. I could talk, like, you're talking about how you're not promoting the product yet. You're giving expertise. So Wade was with us a little earlier, and he was talking about what we do with this super cardioid mic. So maybe if I was Rode microphones, I'm talking about what are the different kinds of, a condenser mic versus this mic versus the mic that comes straight off the camera, which you're not, I'm just sharing knowledge, right? Think about all the different, so if you share a particular story, so Kieran just sold his M6 last week, which has how much horsepower?
700 horsepower.
700, how many horsepower does your car have? Right? And we went in his car, it was a lot of fun, and I might make a 15-second video about that sort of thing. And then if people are interested in that video, where I talk about, wow, look at how fast we're going, my neck almost snapped. Maybe because I'm getting old. And then I say, okay, Kieran, now show me, how is this car generating so much power? Open the hood and show me the engine and talk about why this car is better than that car. Can you beat a Lamborghini? Are you heavier? Like, what makes the car fast? And how does this engine work? And, this kind, and he's got access to all these fancy sports cars. But now I'm sharing knowledge because I've earned the attention by giving people a little teaser into that topic. Now I can go deeper. Here's the thing that businesses get wrong, whether they're big or small businesses. They think that they have to build the exact logic. Like, when you set up an email autoresponder sequence, or maybe that's a little bit fancy, you can set up these rules on exactly what messages people get in like this fancy flowchart kind of way. Mm-hmm. The beauty of Facebook is if you put out that initial why content, those little 15-second snippets, and then you put out stuff later, it doesn't even have to be connected. It can be just randomly on your timeline. It could be content that was on Facebook or YouTube or someone else from years ago. but you put out knowledge. Facebook will make that linkage for you. That is so key. So, you know, Facebook, they sent me a note. You ever see that thing where it's facebook.com/memories? It used to be called On This Day, and they'll say, hey, did you know 3 years ago you did this one thing, you were hiking in this one place, or you were with this friend and you had dinner? So they showed me something yesterday with my friend Austin Wilcox, and he and I were having a chat. He posted something like, you know what, I could use a margarita right now, or 5. He's being cynical because he was having a hard day because his boss was an a-hole, right? So he's talking about that, and he said he needed a drink. And I said, what you really need is some Jack Daniels or this particular flavor, because Brown Foreman, who makes that, you know, was a client of ours for a few years. And then he said, no, I actually would like to have some tequila. And so our messaging on his wall went back and forth. And then guess what was on the right side?
Alcohol ads.
5 alcohol ads. Do you think that was a coincidence?
No
5
way.
alcohol ads in a row.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is a great point too. And I'm going to kind of take some out of what you said. We're not going to outthink the internet. We're not going to outthink AI, right? This is kind of, so the creative is the variable. So this is part of how this works. You're going out, and Facebook is going to find it's
right.
part of probably why you say start with $1. Like they want to provide value to you. So if you start with $1, they're going to find someone that's interested in that. So yeah, I'm loving this. This is great.
Let the system do the work. So I've been under lockdown for 2 months and I haven't really left the house except to get packages. Right?
And tomatoes.
And tomatoes, yeah, in Home Depot. And I bought a bread maker. You know what a bread maker is? It's like cheating. You basically put the stuff in there, you press the button, and that's it. Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
So have you ever made bread before? We had to like knead the dough. Now your hands are all tired. It's like, oh my goodness, is it even worth it? Then the bread comes out of the oven. It's like, oh, the cinnamon bread with you put butter on it. It's so good. Carbs. But imagine going from manually having to like mix all the dough up and do everything and measure everything and all that versus you just open the packet, you dump it in, you press the button, and that's it. Right? That's how you want to think about Facebook. If you have the ingredients, the goals, content, and targeting, but primarily your little 15-second and 1-minute videos, and you put it inside the machine and you press the button, it does everything for you. And we can go into all the reasons why it is. Like some people want to complain about targeting and custom audiences and how big you make them and nested audiences and how lookalikes work and how you do bid pulsing and all this fancy stuff. And we can argue about that. But just know this. If you follow this recipe, even if you don't understand exactly why the recipe calls for yeast or whatever in the particular way, if you put these videos inside the system and press the button and don't worry exactly about what happens inside the machine, the cost of your traffic is going to be less. Your relevance and quality scores are going to be higher. Your engagement rate is going to be higher. Your cost per engagement is going to be lower, and your ROAS, your return on ad spend, and your CPA, your cost per acquisition, will be lower overall. Why? Because, and I'll show you one thing and not go too deep, but I'll just tell you just one thing, and hopefully that's enough to convince you that this is true. What happens, Kieran, if you have low engagement on a Facebook post that you have, organic, an ad on your page, on a profile, what happens when you have low engagement? What does Facebook's machine think about that?
Thinks that people don't like it.
And then what happens if you're boosting a post? What do they do to the cost of your traffic?
Goes up.
Why?
Because Facebook's algorithm thinks that people don't like your content, and your page, your product, whatever it is.
So you ever hear people complaining about, oh, well, I don't get any reach anymore in the newsfeed because Facebook's trying to force me to pay. That's not true. We have some pages that are getting millions of interactions per post. Some of them are really big. Not that you need to get millions, but you know why? It's because there's so much competition in the newsfeed. There's so much content that most people are seeing less than 1% of the content that could be available to them. But Facebook's engine filtering mechanism is so smart that you feel like you're still getting a pretty good view. But do you realize that 99% of what you see on Facebook, or 99% of what you could see on Facebook from your friends, I don't mean like random stuff on the internet. I'm talking about what you've signed up to see. The fact you're friends with someone or you follow a page or you're in a group means you are eligible to see that content. Do you realize that 99% of it you're not seeing? So then if you're Facebook for a moment, because if you really want to understand how to win at Facebook, you kind of have to look at it from their point of view, just for a moment. how are they deciding of all the content that they could show you? How are they deciding what's going to make it into the 1%? What do you think that is?
Things that keep people on Facebook and that they like and that they interact with.
Right. So when you post something, I think Karen and I were both like the 5,000 friend limit. I've been at that limit for like 10 years. You know, that's why people, they keep friend requesting me and I can't accept them because I'm at the 5,000. I have to delete people. But what Facebook will do, and this is true for a page or profile, when you post something, do they just show it to everybody in your friends list? No, they share it with what's called initial reach, which is usually about 1% of who could see it. So if you got 5,000 friends, you know, maybe 50 people will see it. And if those 50 people are liking, commenting, and sharing, then what's Facebook going to do?
You're going to continue to push it to a higher percentage of your audience.
And more, until at which point the engagement rate has fallen so low that you fall off the newsfeed, which is called edge rank decay. For the math people, you can go Google it and see that I'm not making this up. These words are not made up. There's math behind social networking. It's actually called graph theory for those people who want to look at it. Mark Zuckerberg didn't make it up. Graph theory existed 60 years ago. So what the algorithm's looking for is high engagement and a high signal. If you feed them that good signal and you get more engagement, it's not because you're trying to be viral. It's because you're trying to show that there's a linkage between your product that you're selling, the knowledge necessary, because anyone who wants to buy a product, that means they're knowledgeable about certain things. They're really passionate about. So if I have a car, that means I'm knowledgeable about certain things, about racing, about the engine, about like various things, right? I watch Fast and Furious, whatever it might be. And that knowledge will tie to certain kinds of people. So if I can bridge the who to the what, I'm sorry, see, even I get it wrong, to the why, to the what, and I put all those items inside my bread maker, Facebook will do all the mixing. Facebook will do all the targeting. Facebook will do all this other kind of stuff. And that way they're going to reward you. Now, the beauty is, this is another thing that people miss. I could have content from 10 years ago on Facebook that is producing sales for me today. Why? Because I might have boosted it back then and I put $1 a day against it and it was good. So then, you know, initially we put $1 a day for 7 days. It's called $7, easy math. And if it's still doing well, because Facebook's telling me it's doing well, then I'm going to put $30 for another 30 days. So another $1 a day. And then I'll put another $100 for another 30 days. And then I'll put $1,000 for another 30 days. And then I'll put $50,000 on it or what have you, right? Like we did this test for Infusionsoft, which is now called Keep, and we made 150, 200 some video ads. And we couldn't predict which ones were going to be amazing or not. We just put $1 a day against each of them when we spent, you know, whatever, $1,000, right? And we, you know, the game, or not the game, was like American Idol or these like singing and dancing competitions where like eventually it gets narrowed down to like 4 people and then 2 people. And then there's like the one singer who wins the thing at the very end. You ever watch those shows? Right?
Unfortunately,
I know what you're talking about, but not too much.
So I've never said this before. Facebook is Simon Cowell, because he's going to make fun of you or whatever. But if you find a winner and he likes it, and that's a winner, you're going to go all in on that winner. So what we did with Infusionsoft was we had all these different ones that, and some of, you know, the head of marketing and then me and these other people, we each thought we had our favorites on which one was going to win. We were all wrong. The one that ended up winning at the end, we put $1.3 million against this one ad. Or this is like fantasy football, like whatever the analogy is, where you have lots and lots of things. Like you might think you know football, but I'm going to trust the matrix to decide for me. Okay. The machine's going to decide for me. But what I have to do is I have to seed my content library. I have to put the 15-second and 1-minute videos in there, start boosting it for $1 a day. I do not have to make videos in sequence. So what we've seen happen here, and Rich and Jess and everyone else here, if you're listening, because we get this is like Groundhog Day where people like make the same mistakes and we have to answer the same questions. I'm trying to avoid some pain you're about to have. When you put your videos out there, just put them all out there. Don't worry about spacing them out. Don't worry, because it's not a podcast where it's, you know, episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, season 1, 2. You know, it's not like that. You're just putting it out there. So maybe you make a what video and you're talking about the birdseed and how it's made and how you're a small business owner and how you're not some giant factory and how the quality's higher and how you really care for your customers and your service is better. Like, great. And then you make a video about how it's raining outside and how the birds don't come. Or now you're making a video about how now you have a bird feeder and you have a, you know, whatever it is you have. Like you're just like whatever content you're making, you're going to put it into one of these 3 buckets. Your why, which is around your mission and just little tidbits and little behind the scenes moments so that it doesn't look like an ad. Your how content, where you're sharing little bits of knowledge. It could be a minute long, could be 3 minute long. Don't worry about it being exactly like a minute long, but share one piece of content. Don't go into a whole webinar for a whole hour, 1 minute. You're talking about individual ingredients. You're trying to make individual ingredients. And so you have this library or cupboard or what have you of individual ingredients. Now you make videos about what? So talk about the price, talk about your service, talk about your product features and benefits, talk about each individual, one product at a time. For example, I bought this $10 billion bill. This is a real piece of currency, $10 billion from the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And I could talk about how hyperinflation happened here and they had to print money to fund their military, kind of like what's happening in the United States. The $5 trillion stimulus, you know where that's coming from, right? It's not coming from taxes, I'll tell you that. It's coming from the government printing money. So I'm just telling the story about one little thing, right? I'm sharing, I have an economics degree. I went to the London School of Economics. I can talk about what's going on when you print money. Creates inflation, right? Like this, now you have a $10 billion bill. And so I'm just sharing pieces of knowledge. So if I have why, how, and what, and I have 50 or 100 little tidbits. Now remember, they're all separate little tidbits. I'm not going to mix them. So Rich, what's your favorite drink?
Let's say I'll stick with tequila too.
Tequila? So what's the favorite thing you like to drink?
Lemonade.
Lemonade. Okay. Well, actually,
water's my favorite drink overall. I was just going with your over.
Okay. So Jess, what's something that you like to drink?
I'm going to go with an old fashioned.
Old fashioned. Well, not necessarily alcoholic drink, but just like, some kind, yeah.
No, still an old fashioned. No. Oh. I'm kidding.
It's like, it's got water in it.
It's water for me.
Water. Okay. Well, darn, I was hoping for, but if you said like tomato juice or milk,
okay.
And I'd say, well, what if I put milk in your old fashioned? What if I put tomato juice inside your lemonade? Would you drink that?
No.
That'd be kind of nasty, huh?
Yeah.
But let's say you actually do, like maybe you get on, you know what the number 1 ordered drink is on airplanes? It's tomato juice. Why do people order tomato juice when they fly? Like you never order tomato juice when you're at home, But let's say, for example, that you wanted to mix tomato juice and your margarita or something like that'd be kind of nasty. But let's say those are 2 things you actually would drink, but separately. So this is what people are doing on Facebook. They're taking all kinds of random stuff and packaging it in one video, putting it there, and then blaming Facebook for it. What you need to do is you need to separate out the salt and the pepper and the tomato and the lemons and the beef and the chicken and all the vegetables, like separate out those different ingredients, put them in the machine, press the button, and let the machine do whatever. Now, if you put all the ingredients in the machine and you tell the machine that you want chicken marsala, then the machine is going to grab all the different components and make chicken marsala for you. You tell the machine, like, what's something you like to eat, Jess?
Lasagna.
Lasagna. So what does the lasagna have? Well, you've got the pasta and maybe you have some ricotta cheese and some sausage. You see, I'm using food analogies because I'm hungry. And so all you do is you press the button or the picture of lasagna, right? And then Facebook, the machine, will go and grab all these other things for you, cook it for you, make sure, like if it was me, I'd burn the thing, right? Because I walk away and I don't pay attention or something. But this is what we literally have to do. Put the ingredients in the machine. The ingredients are primarily your little bits of video. Then the mechanics of setting up the ads are really easy because you're just doing boosting posts and native remarketing. If you have enough traffic, you can do web remarketing and all sorts of fancy things and custom audiences and lookalike audiences. But really for what we're talking about here, if you have content that introduces things you care about, goes in depth about, 1 minute at a time about one little fact, tidbit, whatever, and then you start selling and talk about your products and services and features and what it costs and different products or whatever, that is all you really need to do. That's called why, how, and what. The system will optimize for you. If you understand that, you're ahead of 98% of other people.
Yeah, I mean, I know Jesse has a couple of things he wants to talk about here, but to kind of sum all that down in quick, what you're saying is Facebook's the bread maker, right? It's the bread machine. And the beauty, sticking with the cooking analogies here, is it's a lot more like actually like cooking than like baking, because baking, you really do have to think out.
Yeah, exact.
the order of things, and you can really mess it up. You can't come back and correct it. But
Right.
cooking, you can add
Yeah.
a little salt later. You put it in the beginning, but it's not quite there. You can put some later. Like, and Facebook is the machine that's going to help figure out that order for you. So in your world, you figure out, what was the three, the lateral, the literal, can't remember the third one, but you basically think about those, and you just make how, what, why videos, or who, what, why videos, and the machine's going to figure it out over time, and focus on just maybe answering questions that are frequently asked, incorporating them into your videos, not necessarily like they've asked the question, but just talk about it like a regular video. Does that sound kind of summed up what you're...
So I want to blow your mind, which is a tall order. And you guys tell me, if you're listening or watching, if this thing causes an aha matrix moment, like red pill moment for you. Okay. So I built the analytics at Yahoo 20 years ago. So I'm a search engine engineer. I understand algorithms. All right. Now, do you guys have a guilty pleasure on Netflix or HBO? Some kind of show you like?
I've actually been watching White Lines lately, and it's kind of bad, but I'm into it now. I can't stop.
Okay, so now you're watching it, and so Netflix is your drug dealer, and so when you go in and you log in, it'll say, "Well, Jesse, you like White Lines, but you might also like," and what are they recommending?
Oh, boy, yeah, other little
Other stuff.
kind of weird.
And they're pretty
mysteries,
good, aren't they? They're pretty good at making those recommendations.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep.
And maybe, Kieran, you're on iTunes and you're listening to some songs.
Mhm.
You have a certain artist that you like. Like what's an artist?
Drake.
Drake. Okay. So you're in there, and my buddy Li Wei Ma has 3 PhDs in statistics, and he's the one who built Apple's algorithm
Wow.
for recommendations inside iTunes. His English is horrible, but the guy is amazing to hang out with. The guy's like a 6'4" Asian dude. Like, you think he's like Yao Ming, but he's got 3 PhDs in statistics.
Wow.
And he's the one that wrote the algorithm that makes song recommendations. Are they pretty accurate?
Yeah.
You should tell Li Wei. Thank you.
All right. I will.
And the same algorithm, if you do a search for whatever on Google or Yahoo, it's usually pretty good at giving you what you want, right? And if you go to Amazon, and like me, I've been crazy. I've been buying all kinds of stuff. Like, I bought this like stamp, this thing you stamp, and it puts likes. I put people's names on these, actually, right? It makes recommendations, right? If you bought this, you might also like to buy these other things. You guys follow me?
Yep.
So did you know, here's the mind-blowing moment. Did you know that the algorithm that powers every one of those examples we talked about is the same? It's the same algorithm. Every one of those social networks. Why is that? And what's that algorithm called? The algorithm that shall not be named is Voldemort. No, what's the name of the algorithm?
The algorithm. That's all we ever hear it called, the algorithm.
Facebook actually got mad at me because I spoke on stage a couple times and I wrote some articles about it. Now, Facebook's created one that just for them that's called EdgeRank, but the class of algorithm that they're using is called a collaborative filter, which is a reverse Bayesian filter, which is basically saying people who like this also might like that, right? And you understand the idea of people who buy this might like that. If you go to a dating site, if you like this woman, you might like this kind of woman too, this woman, right? You might want to look at her profile too, right? And when you're on Facebook, if you are constantly clicking like on Donald Trump stuff, what kinds of stuff are you going to see in the feed? Probably more Donald Trump stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So if anyone's mad about Facebook, about what they're seeing in the feed, whose fault is it?
Their own.
Yeah. And so if you're running ads on Facebook and it's not driving sales, whose fault is it? Because you're misunderstanding what the algorithm does. Like, getting mad at the Facebook ad system is like stepping on a scale and getting mad at the number it shows when you get on the scale. Well, whose fault is that? I love buffets. It's my fault. The scale told me I gained 3 pounds. How many pounds did you gain, during the last 2 months? Corona, how many times do you go and look in the refrigerator? Even though 5 minutes ago, it's still the same things. Like, there's nothing new in the refrigerator. How many times do you reopen the refrigerator? Whose fault is that?
Yeah.
So,
Well, this would be one of the reasons why you say keep creating a bunch of new content, right?
Yeah.
Like,
put it in there.
You're And don't get mad at what happens, but learn from what happens.
If you put why, how, and what content in there, and you have customers who are already happy, Facebook will see that. If you do the custom audiences and do something we call digital plumbing, which is all the tracking, and you feed the stuff back to the matrix, you take your tinfoil hat off, the system will find more customers for you. It just will happen. Why? Because Facebook is a word of mouth engine, meaning that if they know who your top 50 customers are, like if you upload a list of your top 50 birdseed customers who have bought, or maybe you upload the whole list, but then you upload another list of the ones who are like the really good long-time loyal customers and the ones, you know, who you can interview and get testimonials from and all that. Facebook will go out and do the heavy lifting, and they will do the sequencing and bidding and ad optimization for you. You do not have to hire someone to do this for you. I mean, once you get over, say, like $10,000 a day, you might hire someone like Kieran or me to come in and tune it. But really, the algorithm is going to do 99% of it because of the thing that we call a collaborative filter, where you're trying to feed it your good customers. And by feeding the content in this structure of why, how, and what, the system will figure out the journey. It's like some people, like maybe Rich, he's impulsive and he just wants to, he sees something and he just buys it, right? And so Facebook knows that, because guess what? Facebook's seen all the things that Rich has bought, and Facebook will then show, hey, Rich, you need to buy this birdseed right now, and Rich will buy it. And maybe Jesse's a tire kicker. Jesse's like, oh, you know, I kind of like to do a lot of research and figure out what's going on. And so Facebook knows that, not just because of his behavior with, like, you know, being outdoors and birds, but they just know that he just likes to shop around before he buys. And they'll drip him a different flow of content. They'll show him a different mix of content. Do you believe that Facebook understands who you are and will therefore customize the ads so that they can give you something that people will like, tuned to you individually?
I believe it in a very scary way. Yeah, I have no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the microphone's listening, you know.
I mean,
whatever. Yeah, it is. Yeah. So just accept that that's true, right? And don't worry about, oh, well, one day the NSA, no, that day was 20 years ago. So when I ran analytics at Yahoo, we would have government requests where we'd have to pull the emails of these people that were suspected terrorists or criminals or whatever, and we had to do it. If my team didn't do it, we'd have to go to jail.
Wow.
And you can think about the kind of data that we could pull on people. Let me tell you, it was very good. And even 20 years ago, now imagine what data I don't work at the search engines anymore now. Just imagine what they're able to do now. We were collecting 13 terabytes of data per day. I wonder how much data Facebook collects per day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And think about how server capacity and how much, like, the servers that we were working with back then versus now, holy moly. So why wouldn't you let Facebook do the work for you? If you believe the algorithm is smart enough to do this heavy lifting for you, then you're going to use this 3-layer approach of why, how, and what. And here's another thing, just if you don't believe me, because some people, they just really want to, like, touch it themselves. Here's one thing that should cement it for you. So Kieran, when you go in and you create a campaign in the Facebook ad system, and they show you that there's 3 different groups of campaigns, mm-hmm. What are those things called?
They're called campaign budget optimization. And so the short form of that is CBOs. Yep. Right. And CBOs is perhaps the most obvious and widely used version of Facebook's algorithm in advertising, because we all know that the algorithm's there. We all know that it's helping us optimize our ads. But I think when the CBOs came out about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, that was the first time that it was really obvious and right in front of your face on the back-end ads platform, yeah, that there was an algorithm, because you could see one ad set was being pushed more budget than another, and the other ad set was getting better results than another. And, you know, but you're spending only one budget across those 3, right? So I think CBOs really showed people the power of the Facebook algorithm for the first time up front. And it's extremely powerful. We use it in my agency a lot for our e-commerce clients, because it's a great way to filter out some of the best ads, some of the best creative copy, targeting, everything else. So
it's like automatic versus manual transmission.
Right.
You want to let the system do it for you.
Right, right.
And by the way, if you have never heard of CBO, don't worry about it. It's just another TLA, 3-letter acronym. Now there's three levels here. And remember we said why, how, and what. So people get to know you. They like you because you share expertise, and then they buy from you, which is they trust you. You've heard of this, know, like, and trust. Now, what Facebook calls it, when you go into the system, is they call it awareness, consideration, and conversion. Okay? Now get this, so this, right? Awareness, consideration, and conversion, which is the same as why, how, and what, and know, like, and trust, everything we talked about. Now, when you go into Google and you build ads and they tell you to choose campaigns in these 3 categories, what are those 3 categories called?
I actually don't know.
It's called awareness, consideration, and conversion, the exact same.
There we go.
Now, what happens if you go into LinkedIn's ad system and you're choosing which campaign you have, and there's 3 buckets of campaigns? What are those levels called?
I got this one. Awareness, consideration, conversion.
Holy moly, how do you know that? Now, let's say you go into Quora and you want to build ads in Quora, and they happen to have a 3-level system. What words do they use for their 3 levels?
Awareness, consideration, and conversion.
Wow, you get an A. Now, let's say you go to Twitter and you want to build some campaigns, and they make you choose between these 3 categories. What are they called?
Oh, RichE got this one.
Do you know? It's tough. What do they choose? Yes. Okay. Now is this a conspiracy? When you go to each of these ad platforms, now some people say it's a conspiracy because, like, the people who worked with me at Yahoo and we built the analytics system, there was no Google Analytics back then. If you guys remember, for any of you guys who were old enough, back in my day, we used to manually do our searches. We used to go to a travel agent, get off my lawn. Those people who worked on my team and built the analytics, do you think Google built their own analytics? They stole the people on my team. And then they bought this other company called RichE.
Yep.
You know, UTM parameters in Google, you know where the U is? It's from RichE. It's from that company they bought. They didn't even buy it. Oh, and you know, Google search engine, the whole PPC thing on how they make money, they stole all that from Google. We had a $6 billion lawsuit that we won. We were waiting until they went public and then we sued them. They stole that whole thing from us. So the engineers that built the stuff at Google, who do you think built Facebook's analytics?
Same people. Yeah.
Who do you think, you know, Sheryl Sandberg, who runs Facebook? She's their COO. What do you think her previous job was?
Google.
Yeah, she ran sales at Google. And the head chef at Facebook, where do you think he worked before?
I'm guessing Google.
Yeah, maybe he did.
So you're going back to this talent borrows, genius steals thing.
Yeah. So if we can get this thing to work on Facebook, we can get it to work everywhere. Yeah. But let's get it to work on Facebook because we need to have the key ingredients. And so it's basically a Facebook, Google, or Coke and Pepsi world.
Yeah.
Right? That really is what it is. Let's get this right, get the content going, and you're going to find that when you sequence people through these 3 levels, remember there are these 3 levels and you're going to make little videos. You're not going to try to get people all the way through in one 20-minute video. Break them into little segments that are 15 seconds or a minute on why, how, and what, which is the same thing as awareness, consideration, and conversion. If you get that, you're ahead of everybody else. Then dollar a day boosting, then all the stuff Kieran's talking about, like with CBO and your campaign structures, like all that stuff will naturally fall into place. But what we like to say is that you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shiitake. No amount of like adding seasoning with chicken shiitake, you know, it's not going to work. Okay. So with the right ingredients, the bread maker, the automatic transmission, like whatever analogy you want to use for the machine, you know, Big Blue, the Minority Report, Enemy of the State, like, you know, what Skynet, you know, whatever you want to use for that system will do the work for you. Okay. But the first thing is you have to trust. You have to take the red pill.
Yeah. Now, guys, I mean, I believe the algorithm works. I don't doubt it in any way. And I've actually built some of these complicated things you're mentioning. And now I'm like upset that I could have just taken a little bit more of an easier route because some of the stuff you said is complicated. If I can do like a 1-minute how to, we're not going to do the video here. We're not going to do screen share, but like, let's say somebody's like, all right, they've already paused and they made 15 videos and they went to Facebook Business Manager and they created a campaign and they're going to put all these 15 videos, you know, the why, how, and what in one campaign, or are they going to do 3 separate campaigns for the how, you know, awareness?
So you're saying we have 15 pieces of content.
Yep. Right? And there's 5 in each category.
Okay.
Right?
And we're at the top of the funnel, right? So this is, you know, the get to know me type videos that Dennis was talking about.
Sure. Well, they have 5 of those. They have 5 whys, 5 hows, and 5 whats. You know, like, should they just throw them all in there and put them at $1 a day, or should they do 3 different campaigns?
So in that case, yeah, you would want 3 different campaigns because you would want to be serving 3 different types of audiences, right?
Okay.
Because at the awareness level, those are usually cold audiences, people who have never heard of you or your brand before. That's where you want to get people to know, like, and trust you. Okay. Then in the middle, consideration. That's where maybe you start to talk about the product a little bit more. You start to talk about what it is. You're not trying to sell it yet, but you start to talk about what it is, the features and benefits. Maybe it's, some videos of some happy customers talking about their bird feeder, right? Nothing crazy. Maybe there's a link to your website. Maybe they end up on your website, but nothing super salesy there. Just a little bit of information about the product. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you have the conversion stage, right? Now, that campaign objective is usually going to be, a purchase objective. And Facebook's algorithm, the machine's going to go and find people out there in the world of Facebook that are target people that might want to buy bird food. Okay. And at each of these levels, the audience is getting smaller and smaller because, let's say you hit 10 million people with that ad at the top with your awareness ad, people just getting to know you and your business, right? 10 million people, maybe only 1 million of them care enough to watch more than 15 seconds of the video. You set up a remarketing audience to that for your consideration stage where you talk about the product. Out of those 1 million people, maybe only, 100 to 200,000 of them care enough to watch that video or go to your website or whatever action that they end up taking. And then out of all those people, at the third stage, the conversion stage, then you serve them an ad with some sort of offer. Maybe at this point it's a discount if that's how your business operates. Maybe at this point it's just, a really great video of the product and the problem that it solves, whatever it is. Then you're working with a much smaller audience of people. So guess what happens when you're working with a smaller audience of people who already know your brand? Your conversion, your CPA goes down, your cost per acquisition. So you're not spending as much money. Try running an offer to a cold traffic audience. That's the quickest way for your CPA to be way too high. So at the bottom, at the conversion stage, now you have an ad for people who have already seen those first 2 ads. They know, like, and trust you. They like the product. They're considering it. They've been to your website. They've watched your videos, whatever it is. Now you can get them to go and purchase. And so, yes, to answer your question, 3 different campaigns on there. Each of them has a different objective. Usually, the top one's probably going to be video views or engagement or something like that. Yep. The middle one's often, link clicks, landing page views, something like that. And then the bottom one is usually, add to cart, view content, or purchase.
Yep.
Okay. Perfect. I wanted a little blueprint of the Facebook bread maker, and that's a nice back of the napkin blueprint there. Obviously, we could go way more in depth, and I would love to, but that's probably for a webinar or where people really they have to make those videos first. So hopefully
Baby
that's
steps.
a good teaser. Yeah, absolutely.
I got all kinds of pro tricks, but let's get these ones in place first.
I'm with you. Yeah, I didn't want to scare people. I just wanted to make sure that if they were ready to go, they could rewind and get back to that part of the video and be like, okay, I'm ready. So awesome. Yeah. RichE, any questions here? We don't want to keep these guys all day here. I know I could keep taking notes, but
Yeah, to your point, I literally feel like I could talk to him for days and keep learning the whole entire conversation. But we'll try to have you back for round 2 and/or put together a webinar or something. So that's one thing I would say for the people who are listening. Reach out on social. Reach out in the comments at the Ecwid blogs /podcast. Just let us know if you want to hear more, and we'll try to get Dennis back on and take it to the next level. And for those that don't want to wait for that, Dennis, where would people learn more about you and what you guys are up to and how they can support you?
Well, Dennis always responds to my Instagram stories. I know he's very active on Instagram. So what is it? Dennis.u.
That's right.
YU.
That's right.
Yeah,
I don't have as many followers. I don't get like 5,000 people liking my posts, but I reply, or LinkedIn, or you can Google me and you'll see there's a ton of stuff out there. The main thing is I want to see you guys actually put this into action. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis and explore all these cool tips, but end up not implementing. I'll leave you with this one question. What is the best video? Right? You just started your store with Ecwid. You're excited about starting e-commerce and making some money, and you need video to be able to sell. What's the best video?
I'd say probably the first one.
It's the one you make.
Yeah.
It's the one you actually make.
Right.
Don't tell me about the video you're going to make tomorrow. Make your videos now. Because if let's say I'm your weight loss coach and I give you this great plan that it works and I got a great gym and all this equipment, but you never use the gym and you never follow the plan. So Kieran and I, we just gave you the plan. Just do something. You want to run a marathon? Okay, just run a mile today. Just do something. That's the biggest thing. We've talked to so many people that have started their stores, big dreams. They buy all the software, they do all the stuff, but they don't make any videos. They buy all they want to run a marathon. They buy all the running shoes and whatever it is, but they haven't gone out and jogged for a mile. Freaking make your videos, and maybe they're terrible. They will be terrible, but put the first ones out there. In fact, if they're terrible, they often do better. Watch, boost it for $1, remove your ego, let the data tell you. You're going to find the ones that suck. Actually, people will identify with your mess ups. You can even put your outtakes out there and it's just endearing because it's not a commercial and people really feel like they're identifying with you.
Love it.
Yeah, that's
Pick
great
up your
stuff.
phones, everybody.
And let us know. Let Kieran and I know how you're doing. Even if you're watching this way down on the replay months later, I really want to see you succeed. We're not being paid to do this. We're here because we want to see you kick some butt.
Yeah. Even on the paid, I believe, or the non-paid side, like you guys have some free courses and such. I mean, I gotta force you guys to let people know here. Yeah.
So what we talked about today is called the $1 a day strategy.
Okay.
And of course, it's a whole book, and we're not kidding. Like there literally is the whole thing behind it. So because Rich and Jesse and our friends at Ecwid, we want to help people out because now's the best time for entrepreneurship. If you send an email to operations@blitzmetrics.com with the subject line, "We love Ecwid," and you tell us what you want, the $1 a day strategy, we will give it to you free. This is a course that we've sold for $189. We've made millions of dollars selling courses. So it's legit. In fact, you could Google it and you could see how many people have left reviews about it. We will give it to you, no strings, no upsell, no credit card. We're just going to give it to you, okay? Because we want you to make a 1-minute video and we want you to start boosting it. We want you to start getting going here.
Awesome. I love it. And I hope people listening there, are writing that down and rewinding and sending you guys this email because I want to see our customers have success. I want to see our merchants put these things into action. So yeah. Awesome.
Fantastic. Thanks, Dennis. That's
thank
really
you guys.
Generous. Yeah. All right. RichE, any last thoughts here?
No, that's it. I'm ready to, even though we weren't thinking about this, it's inspired me to start making videos.
Hey, this is Jesse and Rich. We want to let you know we really appreciate you listening.
We hope you find the tips we give you helpful for growing your business.
You can find all of our past episodes and a lot more useful stuff at ecwid.com/podcast.
And also, check us out on your favorite podcasting platform like Apple Podcast or Stitcher. And make sure you never miss an episode by subscribing.
Be sure to let us know what you think by rating and reviewing so we can serve you better.
So subscribe on your favorite platform.
And come join our community, check out the transcripts, or tell us why you would be a great guest at ecwid.com/podcast.